Good morning, Kabroda crew. Welcome in. Thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for coming and checking out our live stream, seeing what we're up to today. Yeah, should be a pretty good day. Had a little bit of a move yesterday, so we'll see kind of what's happening today. We'll kind of run through what TA is talking about, what to look for maybe this weekend, and our Friday into this weekend. And then, yeah, kind of just checking out the market, breaking it down like we always do, kind of just seeing what's going on. It is, yeah, it's a good morning. So thanks for joining. Looks like we already got a couple people here. So welcome in, Kathleen. Welcome in, Terry. Thanks for joining us. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like button, really helps our channel grow and reach more people, and helps us show more people what we're doing, and hopefully helps us help people on their way to financial freedom. Yeah, just thanks for joining, though. Thanks for coming and checking us out again today, and we'll just jump right into it here. So had a little bit of a breakdown yesterday, like I said, kind of continued off of yesterday. We were talking about, during the live stream, we were saying, well, if we continued off of the 30-minute range here, or the 30-minute, not 30-minute range, the predator lines, 30-minute or 15-minute predator lines from 8:30 to 8:45, the high and the low. When we break out of those, you typically can take it and continue down. That did play out yesterday, so if you guys took that, if that's your strategy, then nice job. Pretty nice little trade there with continuation. Let's mark it out. This is actually, I guess, what you could have taken if you just jumped in, right off the drop here. Our system didn't call this, like I said yesterday, but we'll see what it does. So here we got our high and our low here, just like that. So if you had kind of taken it off the predator line, say you threw your stop right above the top of the predator lines and ran it out, you could almost made 2.5 to 1 if you got full pull. If you kind of just took it off around the bottom, you could have gotten at least a 2 to 1, maybe a little bit more depending on where you took it off. So not too bad, in terms of the trade. Again, our system did not call that. Our system was saying to kind of stand down, mostly to the fact, that it was showing signs that it could kind of reverse at any point, just because this whole chart was kind of overexhausted. It was ready to see some reversal there. And it did. We came down, dropped a little farther, than we thought, kind of crossed through the 60,000 level we were talking about yesterday. And then we saw that reversal happen, and it came back up it came back up above the 60,000 level. So now we're sitting around 60,800-ish, 60,900-ish level, between there and 61,800 or so. So pretty decent little gap, I guess. But essentially we came down and then we came right back up. We are still sitting below where we were originally yesterday, but definitely pretty close. So yeah, if you took that trade, if that was in your system, nice job. Pretty decent little trade there. Nothing we called, but definitely a pretty good little trade. We're gonna go ahead and close this now, and we're gonna take off these lines here. Looks like Spirit Maker just joined, so welcome in, Spirit Maker. Yeah, let's go ahead and get our lines for today and kind of see where we're at. So we'll head on over to Kabroda.com, kind of see what's going on today. All right, so today we're looking at BTC again. Obviously, we got BTC around that 61,000 level. We're bearish right now with 4 out of 5 of our indicators pointing to bearish, so pretty bearish overall. We are burning, so the momentum is we're still continuing down, but we're just kind of running out of room. basically we're just getting to the point where we're oversold. It's hard to. We're getting to the point where there's, we're just oversold. It's hard to say we're going to keep continuing down over and over and over again. We kind of need a little bit of a relief rally at some point to kind of have a little bit of upwards momentum before we can see more down. The jewel here is lining up with our bearish indicator there, and then we have the multi-agent system staying down again today. Unfortunately, it's been saying that pretty much all week. We've kind of been in the same kind of sentiment all week with a little bit of downwards look to the chart, but the overall, we're kind of, like I said, oversold. We're getting to the point where it's hard to continue taking that down again and again when you don't know. Yeah, when does it end? Yeah, exactly. Right now we have our breakout level at 61,708 and our breakdown level at 59,469. So pretty widespread here. We'll kind of throw them on a chart. We'll see what's going on, see what it looks like, and see what we can get into. Yeah, is it going to go down or up? It's a good question. We'll break it down and we'll let you know. But I don't know. It's one of those, we're getting to the, I wouldn't say the overall bottom, but we're getting to the, excuse me. We're getting to the point where the chart has to kind of have, the relief rally, and it could continue farther, and it can keep just, falling. Happens actually more often than you think. But the issue is it gets hard to trade because you don't know how far are we going to go. Are we going to continue down? I don't know. It just gets hard, and it gets to the point where you just kind of gotta step back and say, okay, I'm going to stay away from this for a little bit, unless your system's a little different, I guess. But with our system, you want to kind of say, all right, I'm going to stay back a little bit, kind of see what's going on, and then we'll kind of wait for the relief rally to happen before we kind of jump in and get that momentum going again. That way we can have a nice and clean trade when we do trade. So right now, I don't know. We'll have to kind of break down a little farther and see. But we're going to go ahead and grab those triggers right now and head back to the chart and throw them on there and see what we got for today. So today's Thursday. Go ahead and pop our levels on there. Here's the levels we're looking at. So you can see our breakout levels down here, way down at 60 or 59, 480 or so. And then we got our daily resistance right here in the middle. Our 30-minute range is sitting closer to the top end of the range with our daily resistance up here above that. So, pretty interesting there. Typically when you see the 30-minute range closer to one of the levels, you're going to see a breakout of that side. Not always, 100% accurate. But typically, you'll see that happen, and you'll see the continuation with that. So right now we are looking kind of bullish just based off the lines. The one thing I will say though is with the daily support being here and the daily breakdown level being right here, there's definitely a possibility of a breakdown. And just looking at how they're set up, that looks a lot nicer than this setup right here with the daily breakout level right there, and then the daily resistance right above it. Just because basically what it means is if we get the breakdown through the daily support, we come down and we break out of our bottom level here, we have a lot more room to run down than we do to run to the upside, because there's so much resistance kind of right there, especially with that 200 on the 15 kind of floating right between those two levels. Definitely a spot where I'd be a little, nervous about taking anything and hoping it to go up too far. We do also have some resistance right here around 62.4. So, a lot of resistance at the top. Does it mean that we couldn't go up? No, but it does mean that there's a lot of things to kind of break through before we do see the breakout to the upside. Yeah, overall, I would say the pattern and everything is kind of looking like we're just going to have that continuation, kind of breaking out of it right now. Something like that with a little bit of an upwards pattern happening, and then now we're breaking out to the downside. Again, this is the predator candle, so you could see some volatility here. It could see it reverse quite a bit. We still got another 4 minutes or so, and you could see this thing reverse all the way back up, and it'll just have this nice little wick going down. We'll see how it happens. Again, like I said, also the predator candle will throw the lines out once it's closed. So in 5 minutes or so, we'll see the close, we'll see the lines pop up, and then whatever side we kind of close below or above first will be the side that we're typically going to see a continuation of. Again, today is definitely looking short again. It's looking like we're going to continue that breakdown again. But like I said, too, we're getting to the point. It is kind of oversold. You can kind of look down here at the jewel indicator. This is an indicator from Meta Signals. You can go ahead and look them up, but it's a paid indicator. So, just so we hit all our bases, just so you guys know that's the case there. But we are kind of seeing a lot of these moving averages come down and start to get compressed down here. So that's a good sign that you are getting into that oversold range. You're starting to get to the range where the market wants to fire back up and get a little bit of a relief, at least, or more, before I guess we see the down run, or we just continue up even more. So yeah, I mean, this candle is definitely not agreeing with that, but that's where we're at. So even though the chart looks like it's going to continue down, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is going to. So let's go ahead and check out our daily brief for today. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the article for today. Today's the 6th. So go ahead and grab it. There we go. All right, we'll head on over to the website to kind of check this out while that candle works itself. All right, we got BTC bearish structure intact. The Kinematic state vetoes entry. So with bear wave 4 retracing around 18.2% from the 60,055 level. Wave 3 low is grinding, and that's the wave 3 low, the 60,055 wave 3 low. Grinding price back into that 61,131 to that 61,708 opening range. The macro architecture is aligned bearishly across 4 time frames simultaneously, with the structure edge pointing decisively to the downside. Yet 2 independent hard veto conditions fire this session, preventing a valid trade from being issued. So the structural picture today is BTC is progressing through that bear wave 4, with price currently sitting around 239 points above the 59,469 lower structural boundary. Confirmed to close below that 60,055 level activates bear wave 5, with structural protection extending into 42,000 to 45,000 range. The next critical event on the structural map is the resolution of this opening range and the 61,700 upper structural boundary, and the 59,469 lower structural boundary defines the decision zone. So essentially, a lot of big words there, but essentially we have the 60,000 level, 60,055 level at the bottom. We did break through that yesterday, but essentially what that level is it's the wave low from wave 3. So, if we're looking at the weekly, we can go look at it real quick. But basically, if we're going out to the weekly here, and we're looking at the wave 3 low, wave 3 will be right here. You actually can see it on my chart. I already have it drawn on here. We had 1, 2, 3. 3 would be the last down wave, and then 4 would be the up wave, which we're technically still in wave 4 until we get a close below wave 3's low. So right now, wave 3 low right there around 60,055, like I was saying. So we need price action to not only come down to this level, but we need it to close below that level to see, you know, that we are going to continue and we're going to have that target down even lower. So once the price action on the weekly gets below that and closes, which we do have 3 days left, so it's on, I think it's like Sunday night, pretty sure, comes down, gets closed below there. If we get that closed below there around on Sunday night, then we'll see the continuation down, and more than likely we're going to see that 50,000 or even below that 42 to 45,000 level coming in with that. It's the level that we've been calling for a while, but we do need to see the close happen before we know that that's going to happen. We're going to go ahead and go back here and read a little bit more. So that's kind of what that's talking about, though. And then it pointed out 2 levels. Essentially, those are just the breakout level and the breakdown level today. So we need to, you know, break, obviously, the breakdown level to see the continuation today to the downside. So the market sentiment today, we have the fear and greed index sitting at 12 out of 100, which means we're in extreme fear. Yesterday, I believe it's 27 out of 100. So we've dropped quite a bit over just the night. Reading historically associated with institutional accumulation behavior rather than capitulation selling. Wow. The sentiment reading represents a direct conflict with prevailing bearish macro structure, and the crowd is positioned fearfully. Yet price remains compressed with the session range lower rather than stating lower. Wow, I cannot talk today. The tension between structural pressure and the sentiment exhaustion reinforces the case for structural patience over forced directional commitment. So essentially, yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, essentially what it's saying is, you know, the fear and greed being that low typically indicates that we are going to find a bottom here pretty soon. Typically, when you see fear and greed that low, people are actually coming in and starting to buy. You know, I mean, really what it means is that there's a lot of people getting pretty scared. They're starting to sell all their stuff. They don't want to be in Bitcoin anymore. They're worried about it dropping down, blah, 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 blah. There's fear of, oh, we're going to go to zero. We're going to have this happen. We're going to have that happen. You know, Bitcoin's no longer an asset. Stuff like that starts to come out. You'll see that everywhere. It's been kind of like that for a while, honestly, that we've kind of seen that kind of stuff. But now it's getting worse and worse. I think we even saw the lowest fear and greed index reading like last month, I think it was. It's been a little while, but it was like a 7 or something like that. So 12 is pretty close to that. Essentially, yeah, we're seeing it pretty low, and yeah, people are scared. That means people are trying to get out of it, but it also means, you know, the bigger guys are saying, all right, well, everybody's selling their coins, so we might as well go in and buy some coins and load up on the market. So that's what's happening. You're seeing money come in, even though price is continuing to go down from so much selling. So people are kind of slowly starting to come in, and typically you'll see a reversal happen pretty close to around, you know, the time that we get into that extreme fear. Obviously, we've been in it for a little while, so you know, they're slowly coming in, but I don't know. We'll see. So we're gonna probably break that 60,000 level more than likely. It's definitely looking like we're gonna do it today. 15-minute actually just broke below the level here, and we're actually seeing a pretty nice little break of the predator line right now. So there is some continuation. What should I say? Continuation probability, I guess, of it continuing down. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know if we can break down to this low today. Maybe. If we throw our targets on here. Obviously, there's no trade today. We are saying stand down on our system. Our system is saying stand down, rather. So I guess if you could take that, it's about a 1-to-1. If you took it right off the... took it right off the bottom and then had the stop right above the low, you could take maybe a one close to 1 1/4, I guess, to 1. So not anything crazy, but you could take a little trade. Again, not super interesting because there's just a lot of factors kind of conflicting here. It's not super interesting to us. And again, you know, our system's telling us to stay out, so we're better off just kind of staying out of the market. But you know, if your system's a little different, or maybe your system is telling you to get in, could be a pretty nice little trade down. Definitely looking like we're going to get that continuation down today. So we'll see what happens. Again, we'll just have to watch it. Got about 9 minutes left in this candle. We'll go ahead and finish our daily brief here, kind of read through the rest of it. So today we are looking at the 4-hour and hourly time frames that have locked into a constructive bearish continuation environment, with 4 or 5 time frames voting to the short side. However, the short-term momentum picture is compressed across time frames with no clear directional velocity. The 50-minute engine is not generating the cinematic loading required for a clean entry. Compounding compression, 5 of the prior 6 sessions printed across time frame exhaustion signals, and the hourly and 4-hourly time frames show momentum as statistically elevated over extension levels. This bear leg is distributing fatigue, not building fresh directional energy. So, you know, looks nice basically, but overall it's definitely conflicting. There's different indicators that are saying, you know, watch out, be careful around this level. It definitely shows that it could go down here on the smaller time frames. You know, right now it looks like it could go down, but overall we're seeing a possibility of it actually having some sort of reversal, or just not going down very hard. So what's the setup for today? So sessions veto, structural energy insufficient for a valid trade. So like I said, we know that. There's 2 independent hard veto conditions fire simultaneously this session. First, we got a short-term momentum that's compressed across time frames with no clear directional velocity. And we have the per the performance auditor's systematic recommendation is now in effect. This state is a standalone veto trigger with producing 0 valid outcomes across 3 prior attempts. So that was kind of confusing, but essentially we've had our system kind of auditing itself, and you know, if the last 3 times that something like this has happened, we've seen that it hasn't actually worked out for the system. So it's essentially just saying, well, since this setup's here, we're not going to be jumping into it because, you know, it hasn't worked out before. So we're expecting it not to work out again, obviously. Second, the hourly momentum has flipped counter trend positive against the bearish 4-hour structure, with trend strength reading only a 17.27. This confirms rotational churn rather than directional conviction. Third independent warning arrives from the momentum overextension signals on both the hourly and 4-hour time frame, and the structural edge is short and the path through all 3 targets is clean. But since systematic state does not permit entry. So why does the system stand down? Again, the short side structural case is coherent. Price sits at the top of the opening range, 239 points above the 59,469 level, lower structural boundary, with no prior or no major cluster obstructing the pathway from 57,000 to 55,000 or 53,609. The bearish macro alignment across the 4 time frames is not in question. What is in question is the entry mechanism. Short-term momentum registers a ribbon spread of 0.1% and a deviation from the mean of 9.98%. Both figures fall below the thresholds required for a directional entry, and the stop at 61,795 is structurally compromised under current conditions, where a compressed short-term state introduces wick through risk that the macro setup cannot offset. Pressing a short entry against these 3 simultaneous warnings, tangled short momentum Counter trend, hourly momentum, and overextension on both higher time frames erodes the structural edge the setup otherwise earns. So all that to say, we have a downwards trade again. We're looking to the downside. There's a definite possibility we can continue down here all the way to what did it say, 53,608. So pretty far away down here on our targets that we have right here. That's 53,609. It'll be just under, what's this, 1, 2, 3, 4, target 4. So around here, we can see price action kind of drop all the way down to there. Would be a pretty decent little trade there. One thing that it kind of noted though is the structural integrity of your stop loss is not super great. You could see a wick up and hit yourself out pretty easily. The other thing is the energy that we have kind of sitting here is not a whole lot. We're kind of running out of energy like we've been talking about. So the likelihood of it actually breaking all the way down is not super likely because although the pathway is clear, we don't really have a lot of support down through here. There's just not a whole lot of there's not enough energy really to take it all the way down there, even though it would be easy going. So what could we see for a short entry here, or a possibility of short entry? So a valid short entry at that level, at the breakdown level, requires two conditions to clear concurrently. So first, short-term momentum must exit compression and register momentum align across timeframes with directional velocity building. The current ribbon spread of 0.1% must expand materially, and deviation from the mean must extend above that 0.98%. Simultaneously, hourly momentum must rely negative to confirm with the bearish 4-hour trend or the overextension on both hourly and 4-hourly timeframes. They must both clear before the stop zone at 61,795 becomes structurally defensible. Should price instead reclaim 61,708 with short-term momentum confirming an opportunistic long scalp to the major structural cluster at 62,296 becomes available, but that structure produces a near one-to-one regardless. It does not meet the minimum threshold for a full 3-target trade. Given the full 5-session exhaustion signal clusters, any long engagement at that level is a single target. Full exit at wall execution with 0 overstay. So I guess there you have it. We're definitely looking like we're going to continue down. It was saying there's a possibility of it breaking up. We just need we need some indicators to come in and let us know, if we're gonna see that continuation there. Honestly, right now it's looking like we're gonna break down here. Main thing is just our system is not really calling the trade out. Looking good though, looking like we're gonna break down, honestly. Would be nice to kind of see it break down here, honestly, and stay down here throughout Friday, into the weekend, and kind of get to close down here so we can get down to this 55,000 level, or 50,000 level, sorry, to 42 to 45,000 level, that level. And that way we can kind of see, the market starts to show us that bottom, so we can flip back up and see the price action kind of move out of there. It'll be a while, like I said, so we're just gonna have to kind of wait and see what happens. Again, no trade for today, unfortunately. Nothing really for today. Just a stand down today. Overall, just something to watch, as we're kind of coming into this weekend. yeah, hopefully y'all have a good weekend, and we'll be back again here next Tuesday to kind of yeah, we'll be back again next Tuesday. We are gonna be, I think we'll be here Tuesday, possibly Wednesday. I'll let y'all know on Tuesday if we'll be back on Wednesday. But we are going to be going on vacation for a while, so we're going to be off the live streams for a little bit. Yeah, a little bit of July. I believe we'll be back. I think we get back on the 12th, so I'm not sure what days after that, but we'll have more information for you next Tuesday. But yeah, just to let you all know, if you're not here, on Tuesday, we will be gone on a little bit of the week next week, and then a week or two after that, we will be gone. We're going to go on vacation. We're actually heading back to see some family and friends in Oregon, and then once we get back to Texas, we'll be jumping back on the grind with the live streams and seeing what y'all are up to. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know a little early, so you guys can, plan or do what you need for that. As of right now, though, like I said, for this weekend, we are definitely looking for some more downtrend here. More than likely, we're going to see the whole system kind of stay below that level of 60,000. If we did get that close on Sunday, that'll be nice for our goal of, running down to that 55,000 or 50,000 level, or 42 to 45,000 level, depending on how low we go. We're kind of calling the 50,000 level just because it's a little bit higher. Typically, when you see a call like a 42 to 45,000 level, you'll actually see price kind of, bottom out just above that, because, everybody is targeting the lower level. And so when we kind of bottom just above that, it kind of, tricks people, I guess. I don't know. It's just how the market plays out. It always turns right before everybody thinks it's going to bottom, It bottoms right when everybody's, holding all their positions to go just a little bit farther, and then it comes back up and takes everybody out. So yeah, definitely looking at that lower level though. If we get the close below on the Sunday. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful to y'all. Hopefully y'all can check that out and see what you're doing. But thanks for joining. Like I said, see you next Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. CST. We'll be back on the live stream again, talking about where price action's at. We'll see what has happened over the weekend. See if we got to close below on Sunday at that point, and we'll kind of see what happened with today too. So thanks for joining though, like I said, and thanks for coming out and seeing our live stream. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Just helps us get out to more people and help more people on their way to financial freedom. Yeah, if you like our stuff too, and you haven't already, just hit the subscribe button. Again, helps out our channel, but also, keeps you notified for when we're sending out live streams or sending out videos. And then the bell notification also helps with that, if you're interested in, keeping up to date, like pretty consistently with us. But yeah, thanks for joining again. Thanks for coming see our live stream. Yeah, we'll be live next week, so hopefully see you then. We'll catch y'all then. Happy trading, y'all. Have a good weekend.